Think about the prospect of, since you're so focused on energy, what do you think about what is the real prospect of moving more nuclear in the United States in the next 10 years?
That's a great question. Hopefully the prospects are good. It's obviously a political hot potato. Moving here to Nevada, so we've got the Yucca Mountain project that's been ongoing now, which is the targeted waste facility for North America, where they can bring spent fuel from all these reactors to one place and secure it. Without that, for example, California cannot build any new nuclear power plants. So it was an amendment, I forget which one, where they can't initiate any new construction until there's a national waste repository. So while a few states have begun again, Texas is one of them, California, which is going to have an energy problem of its own here shortly.
Well, it already does. I mean, the pricing is getting ridiculous. I don't know how businesses can run.
Pricing
homes,
is, yes. It doesn't look like, and you have to realize that from the day you break ground, it still takes 10 years to build a nuclear power plant.
And billions of dollars, too.
Billions of dollars. I think the number now is about 6 to 8 billion per plant.
Yeah.
But the thing about nuclear is it's a phenomenal resource, and I think it's been demonized. What they say in the nuclear world is that they're the best engineers in the world and the worst marketeers. But the bottom line is E equals MC squared. When you really run the math, the ability to harness nuclear power is a phenomenal opportunity for the country and probably for the planet, but it hasn't really been embraced as much as it could be.
So if you were king for a day and you had the ability to remove all of the restrictions and all of the things, what would be the 2 things that you would do today in the business code?
Does that include the tax code?
Yes, it would.
Well, what I would do immediately is put in a realistic level of income tax for corporations. Okay. Right now, the federal level for my company, federal only, is 39%. So there's a range. I believe that the first 50,000 or some nominal amount of income is taxed at a low rate. Everything after that is 39, then it comes down to 35. And then you've got state on top of that. So you're talking about 35 to 39 plus 10%. That's 45 to 50% of your income right off the top in taxes. I think the word ridiculous is pretty applicable here.
It's kind, actually.
Yeah, it's not reasonable, and it's not sustainable, and nobody's going to put up with it for much longer. If it goes up, I think it would be an extremely bad thing because businesses will find other ways to do these things. Okay. So what I would do is bring that down. Maybe the right number, at least a compromise, would be about 10 to 15% federal, and then whatever state you're in, you pay that state income tax. Okay. So I think taxes are a big deal. I think they are radically, it's underestimated in Congress, state and federal level, what this heavy taxing of businesses and people means. But if you stick with businesses, they're not emotional. They're not tied to the country in a lot of ways. They don't have family here. They need to be where they can generate the most shareholder value.
Well, I think the biggest problem is we keep electing people who've never had a real job.
Yeah.
Who've never worked for a business that had a P&L. Well, it's always speaking in hyperbole, but a very large number of these people have spent their lives working within the government on the taxpayer dole, and they just fundamentally don't understand what it takes to make a profit and pay employees and market and sell and be able to manage the tides of economics and so on. And if I have any suggestion to the voters is stop demonizing the business people and start allowing them to help run the government, and maybe we might actually get somewhere.
Yeah, that would be a good first start. And I think that it is true. At least the members of Congress that I've met with, they don't come from a business background. I think they can still understand the concepts, but they haven't been there and they haven't done it and they don't know what it's like. But this general idea that companies are evil, I'm glad you brought that up. There might be 1 or 2 that really are, but the vast majority of companies in this country, you should refer to them as employers, because they're the ones who create the jobs, who do all the hard work to make sure that these jobs continue. We want to make them happy. in the country. We want to make them profitable so they continue to grow, because there's the whole other aspect of this, which is foreign competition. The U.S. is arguably no longer we're clearly a market leader in a lot of areas, but no longer leading in some very critical areas.
We've lost our edge. There's no doubt, and anybody who denies it is in denial, literally, over everything. I think we've got to deal with several issues, and I'm glad we got to that point. A couple of last quick topics here, and that has to do with the generation of research dollars, the protection of intellectual property in places like China, because one of the problems that we have is China's our banker. So I don't believe we're enforcing our intellectual property the way we should be. But we're also not creating it because we're not educating students, enough engineers and enough people that are capable of even starting a new business and creating new patents. The last thing I'd like to touch on quickly is the green energy potential. What do you think about green energy as the future for the United States? And do you think we can even become a leader in that process?
Well, I think we can become a leader in anything that we put our heads to, assuming that the government and the regulatory bodies don't interfere too much with that. And they will interfere. In many cases, I think they'll support green initiatives. But green energy it's one of those things where it's a nice concept. There's a lot of movement there. I think we can't forget about things that are not that popular, like clean coal. Right. The United States is the Saudi Arabia of coal. How do you burn it cleaner and more efficiently? How do you look at, I believe nuclear is green. The warm green glow of nuclear energy, right? Sure. Is that it's a phenomenal opportunity for America to embrace solar. All these things, I think that there are great opportunities. Whether or not we capitalize on them, I think it's yet to be seen. Okay.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to do the interview with me today, and if we need to follow up, would you be open to it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks
so much,
for coming by. Yep, appreciate it.
Thank you. You've been watching Eye on Business with Kevin McDonald and Charlie Sundling with Pipeline Software, and I hope you'll follow us again next Friday. Thank you.
If you'd like any more information on Pipeline Software, please visit pipelinesoftware.com.